welcome to our second installment of Candid Conversations. This second installment will focus on the neighbors. Candid Conversations is brought to you all by a partnership between Public Narrative and the Together We Heal initiative. To find out more about Together We Heal, please check out the website at shy.gov/Together We Heal. But one of the really exciting efforts of Together We Heal is bringing folks together in these candid and intimate conversations to talk about different issues around Chicago, healing, and race. And so we've been really, really excited with our first Candid Conversation that focused on the healers. And tonight we have a special treat for everyone in bringing together folks who we're calling the neighbors, in partnership with a beautiful project that it was done here called the Folded Map Project. So I am not going to take up your time trying to tell you about it, but instead let you both learn directly from the folks who have been working and have breathed life into this. And then they're going to follow up and introduce themselves and lead us in a candid conversation. But again, thank you for joining us tonight, and we are excited to have you.
Our series, The More Perfect Union, aims to show that what unites us as Americans is far greater than what divides us. And this morning, we're showing you a new approach to bridging divides in Chicago. Neighborhoods from the city's north and south sides are banding together to take on some very deeply rooted issues. The differences between these communities, they are stark. But as Adriana Diaz shows us, together they are tackling segregation and the inequity that comes with it.
Do we have any of those posters left?
Yeah, I do. Chicago residents Nanette Tucker and Wade Wilson share a love of gardening and craft.
Pretty cool.
They're like neighbors, sort of.
Wade is called your map twin. Why are you guys twins? We're twins because when you follow the map, we touch one another on the map, north and south.
Like many cities, Chicago's a grid with many streets spanning north to south. If you fold a map of the city in half, you can match addresses on the north side with the same block on the south side.
You lived all your life never thinking you had a twin. And now
I have one.
Yeah.
They live about 15 miles apart, but Wilson and his wife Jennifer live in the majority white north side neighborhood of Edgewater, while Tucker is in the mostly black south side neighborhood of Englewood.
How would you explain the differences between both of your neighborhoods, which are essentially equidistant from the center, but worlds apart in many ways?
It's very clear that neighborhoods primarily on the north side have had more investment. Everything from the street lighting to grocery stores and restaurants, which is plentiful on the north side, and it's not here.
It's almost like you feel a light come on at a certain spot when you're going north. And when you're coming back south, you can feel the glow that's upon us in Englewood.
Curiosity.
They met through Tonika Lewis Johnson, a social justice artist who grew up in Englewood, a community often in the news.
Two mass shootings
Shot in the head.
Drive-by shooting claims the life of a 15-year-old boy in West Englewood.
Lewis Johnson created the Folded Map Project, which includes this film, to change the conversation. She contrasts how the same street, like Ashland Avenue,
They look very different.
looks on the north side
The sidewalks,
and the south side.
the maintenance of the building, none of which have anything to do with gun violence. Only disinvestment.
Chicago's segregation is due in part to racist policies like redlining, where banks would designate properties in minority areas, delineated in red, as too risky for mortgage lending, excluding Black Americans from a primary pathway of building wealth, homeownership.
You have neighborhoods that are predominantly Black that have low home ownership as a result of the discriminatory practices. Businesses left, so you don't have a business corridor, so therefore you don't have jobs. And now the schools are starting to fail because they aren't properly funded.
For solution, bring the North and the South together with map twins.
It can feel so overwhelming to try to take on systemic racism. But you would find a way to almost chip away at it one person at a time, one pair at a time.
Yes. Let's use segregation as the actual thing that can connect us.
In her project, she doesn't shy away from uncomfortable truths.
How much was your home?
It was $61,000.
And how much was your home?
$535,000.
You asked Wade and Annette what they each paid for their house. You know, it felt a little awkward.
I think the awkwardness helps people understand how we're all participating in this system that was created before us. And it doesn't truly reflect how we want to connect with each other today.
Frankly, we're privileged, and it's hard to sit next to a friend who hasn't enjoyed that privilege. We realize that there's an opportunity to actually do something.
Wilson and Tucker are doing something together. 3 years after they met through the Folded Map Project, with others, they created Englewood Renaissance, which is helping beautify parts of Englewood and is now focusing on increasing homeownership here.
Creating a community together. The economics might be different. The neighborhoods might be different. But the core of who I am is pretty much the same as Wade and Jennifer. I want the same things they want.
For CBS This Morning, Adriana Diaz, Chicago.
This is such an important story.
Yes.
It's such an important story. You have the same street and the different economic values and why that's happened. And
the difference in the numbers, Anthony,
Yeah.
61,000 versus 500,000
Yeah.
plus. But it's a perfect example to show that story on the same day that we did the 110 project.
Exactly.
Because it shows you that it starts there.
Yes.
And that's why this disparity and pointing out the disparity, because I know there are many white people who can say, well, I don't have the privilege either.
This is not ancient. It shows it's not ancient history.
No,
The legacy of these practices from the mid-century are with us today, and they will continue to be with us because the value of these homes is the value of these homes.
Yeah.
And the question now, as we become aware of it, is what are we going to do about it?
And recognizing that it is an issue.
Yeah.
It is a major,
Well,
major
and as
problem
long
in
as-
this country.
And as long as that economic disparity continues to exist, you will have these differences.
Yeah. So much more than planting a garden together.
Yeah.
Okay, I had to mute myself. Well, hello, Jennifer, Wade, and Nanette. How are you?
Hello.
Good.
Doing well, thank you.
So how did it feel seeing the coverage again?
It felt exciting. It felt good. It felt good because you can see what you're doing. And not only you see it, other people around the world get to see it. So it felt really good.
So I see you all nodding your head. You all agree?
Absolutely.
Well, before we get into our conversation, I just wanted to allow you all to introduce yourself, even though the coverage kind of did, maybe for people just tuning in. So say your name and maybe open up with saying what your favorite Chicago memory is. And I'll start. I'm Tonika Johnson. Friends of Nanette, Jennifer, and Wade. We met through Folded Map. Nanette and I met through our community organization, Resident Association of Greater Englewood, RAGE. And my favorite Chicago memory, I have so many since I've really never lived anywhere else. So I would say most recently, my favorite Chicago memories have been the Silver Room Block Party. That's in Hyde Park. That happens every year. I was going when it was not on the South Side, when it was actually in Wicker Park, and it was much smaller, but still just as cool. And so to be a part of an event like that has gone literally from kind of like Folded Map, gone from the North Side to the South Side, and it has like expanded to be such a major event on the South Side and in our city. And I just think it's such a beautiful event where all Chicagoans would feel welcome and just have a really good time being immersed in what a big
Black block party looks like. So that is my favorite Chicago memory.
Well, I'll go next. My name is Nanette Tucker. My favorite Chicago thing is the Bud Billiken Parade. And the Bud Billiken Parade is because everybody comes out, you get vendors, they selling food, snowballs, candy, you get to see the parade. You might see somebody that's that's in the parade, but family members that you might have not seen because they're from out of town, they come to the parade. So it's almost like your block party, but it's more like a family reunion that you get to go to every year and enjoy. And it's like right before you go back to school. So it's like a back to school celebration, a block party. So that's my favorite thing, or my Chicago memory.
I'll go next. I'm Jennifer Chan, and thanks for having me in this session. I am a friend of Tanika and Nanette, and Wade is my partner over here. My favorite memory, I guess I would maybe say memories about Chicago, is one of the first couple days when it gets really warm outside in Chicago, and you start to see everybody come out of their houses, and people sort of talking on the street who probably weren't as, meeting up as much in the winter time, and sort of the excitement that you see all over the city. Mm-hmm. And I think it's a precursor to all the summer and parties and festivals. And I think for me that it's that sunny day and it's just getting warm and everybody goes a little crazy because we're so excited. And I think for me, the reason why I think of that is I think there's a lot of hope on those days for something coming down the pike. And that's my memory.
That's a good one.
I'm Wade Wilson. I'm Jennifer's houseboy. But all joking aside, I have a lot of wonderful memories of this city because it does have so much to offer and such great diversity. But I think the one that sticks in my mind at the moment is pretty recent and pretty personal. And that is an afternoon that I spent down on Nanette's block this past summer when we had a group of North and South Siders down there doing an alley cleanup. But then afterward, we sat in Tish's garden, which is a garden that Nanette and her family have built on a vacant lot that they purchased from the city. They have a little stage there, and a lot of performers from the South Side performed music, dance. There were artists painting murals on the fences. It was just an amazing day.
That's beautiful. The other question, I'll just repeat what the question actually is, and then I'm going to just change it up a little bit. So a question I wanted to ask is, if you could undo one harm that was created in Chicago, what would it be? Feel free to provide a different answer, but I feel like you all have already started to attempt to undo Chicago's historic issue of segregation, or contribute your version of a possible solution by not only expanding folded maps to this beautiful idea of block twins, which is amazing. I would have never thought of that. But also it going into you all creating Inglewood Renaissance. So I feel like, systemic segregation is an issue that you all are, attempting to undo on a personal level. And so I just wanted you all to talk about like, why? You know, you could have just said, all right, we have a new friend with Nanette, Jennifer, and Wade. We're new friends, and we met through Folded Map, and we'll just hang out and have craft beers, and that would have been fine too. But what made you all really want to expand this idea of connectivity into Block twins, introducing your neighbors to each other, and eventually Inglewood Renaissance? Like, why did you all decide to do that?
Well, Nanette kicked it off, so I think we should let Nanette speak first.
I don't know. I think we were, one day we were just kind of sitting around, me and a friend, Lila, that she's part of the Inglewood Renaissance. And I was just talking about systemic racism in my neighborhood, and me and her talk that way, and just talk about how I feel personally about how the racism has been, and how it's so different for Blacks and whites. And so we were just talking, and a light went off and said, man, maybe we can have Block twins. And I said, maybe I'll ask Jennifer and Wade if they're interested, because it was only supposed to be beautification of the block. And so they were interested in it. And just from that, it was just born. But, you know, I think of Jennifer and Wade as my family, not just my friends, and not just somebody that, you know, you met, like you said, and you drink craft beer with, and that would have been okay as well. But I don't know, from day one, I just felt like they get me. They get how I feel. They get some of the things that I say to them. They, you know, if I talk about my racism or how I feel about it, or my personal things that I feel about, they listen, and they might have, you know, a comment or an interjection, or bring some light to it, or share something with me that I know that it's real. What they feel for me is real. They care about me. They genuinely care about me, and I genuinely care about them. So from that's how, you know, Block Twins and Inglewood Renaissance became who they are.
That's beautiful.
You want to say something?
And feel free to add if there is another harm in Chicago that was created in Chicago that you would want to undo. What is it? Because I definitely will answer after you all share.
I think that Nanette said it so well, and I think that's one thing about growing together as a family. You get to know each other well, and you learn about so many different things, and sometimes you'd say it differently, but I think in this case, Nanette said it the best way it could have been said about how it started.
But this also speaks to your genius, Tanika, because, you know, Jennifer and I have been aware of the problem of segregation and systemic racism in this city for a long time, but we've always viewed this problem as monolithic and just always felt kind of helpless about how to address it personally. And your Folded Maps project opened our eyes, introduced us to Nanette, and gave us a way, even if it's very small, that we could finally do something, take some action. It's a huge benefit that we ended up being great friends with Nanette. You really lit a fire.
Oh, thank you. That's so kind. Like, you know, me doing my project also changed me, because honestly, you know, one of the harms that was created in Chicago that I want to undo, obviously, is, systemic racism, but how it prevents us from connecting to people that we would connect with if this weren't an issue. Yeah. And, I was able to experience a glimpse of that kind of beauty in high school for those 4 years when I went to Lane Tech, and it's very diverse. And I made some amazing friends that I'm still friends with that have a completely different life than the way that I grew up, and some who are similar. But we all hung out together and learned so much more about our city. And so I really wanted to figure out a way to replicate some version of that and create a folded map. But honestly, I created the project because I was frustrated. I wanted to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt, like, no, this is not a historic issue. It's present. It has present day impact, and all of our lives are impacted by it. So when I created the project, I was really just like, I'm gonna show you, whoever doesn't believe. But, that day that I met Jennifer, I hadn't thought of map twins at that moment. And I really, when I was explaining the project to Jennifer, I really thought, I was like, she's not going to even care. She's not going to even understand. I actually did generalize Northsiders, other than the ones that were my friends. Because I was like, well, I know them. I know they care. But the ones that I did assume that they didn't care. And me doing the project and meeting Jennifer and her like genuinely being interested and caring allowed me to have the idea of map twins. So had that moment not occurred, I wouldn't have been able to even be sensitive enough to create map twins. And so everything that we are all working towards together and separately around the personal impact of segregation is the harm that's, steeped and rooted in Chicago that I would want to do. And the project definitely helped me understand that it's a lot of Chicagoans outside of not only Inglewood, but the South Side who care. And like you said, Wade, just don't know how to really contribute to a solution outside of voting and everything else. So I'll leave it up to one of you all to take away the next question.
Before we go there, if you don't mind, it has been kind of an indicator of that as well, how anytime we've gotten even a little bit of press coverage, like that very first article in the Tribune, people just out of the blue from the suburbs, from South Side, West Side, North Side, had just contacted us. The first time we had the event, the beautification event, people showed up in their cars saying, hey, I brought 3 cases of Pepsi for you. I mean, it was just incredible how many people were compelled once they saw, a way to take some action.
Yeah, I think it's quite amazing that when you bring it down just to the personal connectivity, people get to imagine like how simple it could be, because once you meet and connect with people that you like, regardless of their background, you do care about stuff that impacts them. Yeah. And that's just, the natural human instinct. And so happy that you all are a demonstration of what that could look like.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that speaks to, the redlining and just the pervasive, unrelenting separation and segregation and geographic split that it really impacts Chicago in ways that, for me, I'm still learning and trying to get a deeper understanding of how that all plays out. But I think one endpoint of that is making it difficult for people who are caring to care for different groups of people.
Yeah.
And the project that you put together is, I think, one way that we can transition from caring to taking that chance, like hanging out and talking in front of our house that day when I met you, Tanika, and taking another chance and realizing that caring and taking a chance actually work really well together. So.
Yes, they do.
Absolutely.
Let's see. Now, since we are talking about how segregation has impacted us and has like propelled us to want to do something personally about it, do you think that true racial equity is possible in your lifetime? Why or why not? Ooh, this is a deep question.
I would probably say no. And, you know, just looking at what happened last Wednesday just makes it more profound to me that it's a country of white privilege, and you just it's so overtly out there to you that, you know, when Black Lives Matter was doing peaceful protests, I mean, they were assaulted, whatever, but, you know, you got people that's really doing some real damage and just really trying to do real damage. But all these people are white, you know, so it makes me think that, no, not in my lifetime. Maybe me doing what I'm doing today and you, Tanika, doing what you're doing will make it better for my great nieces and my great nephews, and they'll see it. But in my lifetime, I can't say that I think that I would be able to see it, no.
Yeah, I honestly feel the same way. I would like to be hopeful that that's the case, but I think we have a long way to go. But that's all the more reason to do all we can while we're here to get us down the road.
Yeah, to make a difference. Absolutely. I mean, you have to, my thing is that you have to look in a mirror and, you know, stop pointing fingers at people and say, what difference can I make today? And if it's a small difference, it's a small difference. Like, you know, like you were saying, Tanika, that sometimes people don't know what they can do. And like Wade said, when our first event, people just brought soda. That's what they could do. And just doing whatever little bit you think that you can do. And that makes a difference. And it really does make a difference. I mean, because just cleaning the block up, planting flowers, it makes a difference. It makes a difference. I mean, we beautified our block this Christmas for Christmas decorations. We went up and down the block and decorated for Christmas, you know, so it's just, and people came out and talked about how nice it was and how beautiful it was. And it makes a difference to how they feel. It made a difference to their mental status, you know, so I think just small things can happen to make a difference. So like Wade is saying, yeah, whatever you think you could do, you know, do it and continue to do it.
What about you, Jennifer? Do you think that it will happen in our lifetime?
I don't. And for me, you know, I would say if when it comes to that conclusion, that is a signal to keep moving. I think in many ways, facing something that doesn't look like we'll see in our lifetime can feel like, what am I doing? There's so many other things that I should do that maybe I can accomplish. But I think in the end, doing the small things matter. They matter to us. They matter to the people who are around us. And oftentimes, unbeknownst to other people are watching. And that part of it is part of it, like a wave to move it forward. And there will be setbacks, just like incredibly difficult ones that we're seeing right now. But I do think that, you know, an eye toward the future and a commitment to doing small, medium, and large things are, you know, are what makes us care and what makes us really strive for something that often doesn't seem achievable in the short period. But, you know, I'm hopeful.
Yeah, no, I agree. I definitely don't think we'll see racial equity in our lifetime because we are still dealing with inequity, and it's been several lifetimes for, you know, our ancestors, all of ours. And, you know, policy and laws alone won't get us there. I definitely think this period now, the other added ingredient is the personal connectivity. I think with that, it will propel us into creating what could be racial equity, but it has to start with, you know, solidarity and people coming together so that we can advocate for the policies that can offer an opportunity for equity. Because, you know, we can connect and hang out all day with each other, but our educational system, the housing, all of those things are different and unequal. And, you know, that has to be addressed. But I personally think that the momentum to create the change to address the damage of historic racism and segregation, specifically in Chicago and nationwide, has to start with people connecting, you know, because one group of people won't be able to do it alone. You know, it has to be solidarity. Those are the things that create movements. Even when you think about the civil rights movement, you know, that was to really offer civil rights to African Americans that so many other populations benefited from, but that alone wouldn't have been able to happen without a multiracial kind of coalition. And it had to be a movement, but it started in these, you know, hyper local movements. And I think that Chicago is a great microcosm of the possibility, not only the problems of this country, but the possibilities. And so I think we'll just be moving the needle a little bit, you know, further. We won't see it in our lifetime. I agree with you all, but I think we're gonna get closer to creating or expanding on examples and building on examples that have worked in the past that just haven't been able to be effective on a larger scale. But I think we're getting closer, and housing is definitely critical. It's part of it.
Yeah,
and,
it is.
And I think once we all agree on that, I think we could really advocate for policies that will redress it. You know, I know a lot of people don't like to talk about reparations, but there's other ways in which, you know, everything could be equalized. And housing is one of them, you know? So I think we'll definitely make some progress, but yeah, I don't think it'll happen in my lifetime. Let's see, we have another question I would like to ask you, since we're talking about all of these historic issues and how they impact us today. You know, when you think about your culture and your ancestors, you know, what are some of the things that you were proud of about your culture and your ancestors, or some things that you aren't? Because as we're talking about issues that might not or possibly be solved in our lifetime, we do have to look back. You know, that's the only way we're kind of gonna understand how to even think of solutions, is by looking back. So I just wanted to ask that question to all of us. Like, when you think about your culture and your ancestors, you know, what are some things that you are proud of that you would like to be carried forward? I know these deep philosophical questions. They just
I'm gonna pass that to you, Wade, at this point.
I could take the first shot.
Yeah.
Okay.
That'd be nice.
So my parents are immigrants to the United States decades ago, and one of the things I am so grateful to my parents for, and I think it comes from Chinese and Chinese American culture, is really the belief that the future could be better. But the reality is that the future wasn't supposed to be given, or it wasn't something that always was there. And so the drive to make a better life, the drive to work hard to do that, but also being humbled by the fact that, and sort of this indirect understanding that it wasn't always equal, but that to continue to find ways to make a better life for yourself, for your family, for the people that you care for, to create community around that, was something that I am very grateful for. It taught me a lot. And also my family, my parents taught me about, thinking independently as much as you can, and being supportive when, you go against what other people currently are thinking because you believe it's right. So those are a couple things that I'm grateful for.
I love that. I love that. It makes me think about, my grandmother, who I often talk about because she is the reason that I grew up in Inglewood. And, funny enough, both of my grandmothers, my maternal and paternal grandmother, both of their names are Maryland. And they both migrated to Chicago from the Great Migration, in search of better opportunity here. So when I think about my ancestors and my culture, I have so much to be proud of and pull from. But as I learn more about the inequities and the barriers they faced just to provide a place for me to be raised and grow up, I'm just astounded. It's so many misconceptions about Black people who migrated north, that they were poor, they didn't, little education, they didn't have money. And as I get older and read more and learn more, and just even go into my own family's history, I learned that that's actually not the truth. A lot of them actually came here with money saved, came here with some education. Even the ones that didn't came here to work and actually did save to purchase homes, to enter the middle class. And as I learn so much about our government's role in segregation and inequity, I am just shocked at what my ancestors went through just to have or acquire the basic things. And then I'm just amazed at what they created, all of the Black towns, banks, businesses that they created because they were excluded from, participating in just the regular economy. I'm just really proud of that. And it's that resilience and that kind of innovation that I would say I'm most proud of, because honestly, I cannot imagine, having gone through what they went through, especially the ones who left the racism of down south to come north, only to kind of get strangled in another way. I don't know. I would have been like, you know what? I give up. I can't. I don't know what. I'm just amazed by them. So that's what I'm most proud of, the resilience and the ability to still love and laugh throughout all of it and create amazing new cultures, music, just to be such amazing contributors to this country while still being the most attacked. So that's what I'm most proud of.
I think that I'm most proud of my family dynamics, when you were raised, when I was raised, you were raised with your aunts, your uncles, cousins, and people say today it takes a village, or they've said it takes a village to raise a child. And that's what I had in my family. I had aunts, I had uncles raising me, cousins. You learn so many things, and so many new things, so many positive things. You learned how to be, again, like you said, resilient, but resilient in a different way. People instilled in you. I used to see how my grandfather would dress. They would have shirt and ties and pants up around the waist, and just walking down the street, and it would just be, it's something to see those men dressed that way, and they told you when you went out, that's how you dressed, that's how you dressed on interviews, and they instilled things in you that you got from your home, and you didn't have to go outside of your home to get those things. That's what I'm most positive for. Yes.
No, that's true.
I think that from my family, the thing that I admired the most was kind of a commitment to community service. My mom's 84 to this day. She works at the election board every single time there's an election.
That's so amazing.
My dad was mayor of our small town back in the 60s, and we'd get all these terrible phone calls and what have you. I remember that very well. It was something that I felt like was really strong in that generation that maybe wasn't as strong in our generation. And as we entered our, I'll speak for myself. I won't speak for everybody else. As I entered my 30s, I was worried about building my own wealth and my own security, and really not thinking very much about other people or the community at large. And it kind of came later in life to me that I really should follow that example of service to others. And so attempting to make amends in my old age, but that's one of the things that I think if we have a commitment to others, it just comes back to you so many times over.
No, that's true. Sometimes you have to, not even sometimes, a lot of times you have to evolve, and age is a version of evolution to kind of understand how you can give back, or what you even should do to give back. Because I've been, I always joke and say a little weirdo artist kid my whole life, but it took me until I became an adult to realize how I could use it to give back. So, it's definitely a process. Just kind of how achieving racial equity is. You know, it's a process.
Indeed.
And each part of the process is important and can help inform what a goal or the next process could be. So, you know, I love that. Let's see what other question Candace had for us. Oh, this is interesting. Imagine you were writing a letter to future generations about oh gosh, I don't even want to say this, about 2020. What would you say? They should have picked another year. Oh my gosh. What would I say to future generations about 2020?
Chickens came home to roost.
I was just about to say a pimple that popped.
Yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
You know, it's interesting you say that. We received a letter from a friend, you know, with the Christmas card, right? And one of the things they put at the very bottom of the letter, I thought it speaks to this. I'm sorry, I think me moving around is making me disappear on the screen there. But what they said, well, I'll just be very brief with it. But she's like, injustice and inequality in high relief, and in-your-face understanding of educational and health disparities, the criticality of human connection, and a thirst for science and knowledge must guide us as we recover. We will not unsee what we have seen. Mm-hmm. I think that kind of puts 2020 in a nutshell for me.
Oh, yeah. We will not see.
We will not unsee what we have seen.
Unsee. I love that.
I do too.
And I think we have the tools to ensure that we don't unsee it.
Yeah.
Technology.
Yeah, true.
We've had the atrocities that have occurred in 2020. We've had them occur in the past, but it was able to be buried in different ways for us to not be able to see it, for future generations to not see it. And I definitely think technology has allowed for all of us to be so connected to these critical incidents and issues that we won't be able to unsee it. And I just know that for me personally, as an artist, I'm going to make sure we don't unsee it. But no, I like that.
Yeah,
one thing I'd love to say in a letter is, like, never forget and keep on asking. Yeah. Just to the point of, there's so much about, I think, peace and reconciliation, about remembering history and community is not about a byline. Mm-hmm. It's not about one quote that gets repeated. It's about talking to people and listening to their stories and hearing the diversity of the memory of this year. Mm-hmm. For a couple of reasons. The diversity and the experiences are so different, and we won't really understand the challenges we face until we deeply understand how different they can be. Mm-hmm. And then there's also parts of things that we may not want to hear. We need to hear them, so they will never happen again. And that is an uncomfortable process, I think. Mm-hmm. But that's what I would urge in that letter is those types of things, so that we never forget.
That's beautiful. Never forget and keep asking questions. Yes, ask questions. Always ask questions. I would definitely put that in my letter. Make sure you continue to ask questions about 2020.
Yeah,
always and forever. So many questions we probably haven't even thought of. But yeah, no, I like that. Never forget and ask questions.
Yeah, and continue to change. continue to change things, keep moving forward, you know, and just know that that it's possible to move forward and change.
Yeah, I would also add, you know, to kind of Wade's point, everything that came to a head in 2020 had its roots in history, and you just have you have to dig it up. You have to dig it up, because if they go unseen or get forgotten about, it's going to emerge again in your lifetime. That's what I would tell future generations. You will not be able to escape some of the things that we have went through if you don't continue to do what Jennifer said, not forget and ask questions. And then also what Nanette said, you know, instill that in your own family and kids. So I would probably add some instructions. That's what I would do. I wouldn't even be concerned with trying to explain to them all of the craziness that occurred. Yeah. I would just give some instructions, you know.
Yeah. We need to invest in that education, that historical education for people.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I grew up in a town 20 miles away from Tulsa. Oh. And my entire life until 2 years ago, wow, I didn't know anything about the Tulsa race massacre.
Yeah.
It was never taught in our schools. There was just never a mention of it.
Yeah, no, and that's so unfortunate. Just I just think about the stuff that I wasn't taught, the stuff people of other races weren't taught, how that removed an opportunity for empathy and understanding, first of all, you know, like, so it's critical. And I think a lot of us now are becoming more aware of the history like Tulsa, and that's not isolated. It happened in so many other places.
Here,
you know, and it's important that people know. Black Wall Street, just so many. Rosewood is just, the list goes on. And when you learn more, I generally, and this is what I'm hopeful about, you know, I still believe that for the most part, when people learn, they behave and they act different or improve or act better. They understand themselves and others a bit more. So yeah, no, I understand. It's a lot of stuff that I'm still finding out about and eager to learn more of. So we just got our time check.
Uh-oh.
So since we'll be wrapping up, I want to kind of pick us up a bit. So if you could name a song that's your anthem for Chicago, what would that be? A song that's your anthem for Chicago. See, that's tricky because I'm still, you know, off the 2020 conversation. So it might.
I think my song would be Ain't No Stopping Us Now, by McFadden and Whitehead.
Oh, okay.
That's a good one.
That is a good one.
Be my song, definitely.
What would be my song? Well, I mean, this has pretty much been my song for a long time, but I think it affects me different now. Not only because, you know, age, but 2020, even so far we've experienced in 2021. Well, actually it's two songs. Public Enemy's Fight the Power. First and foremost. But then, you know, you had to have the yin and the yang. Then there's Sade's Love is Stronger Than Pride. So that's me. Public Enemy's Fight the Power, and then Sade's Love is Stronger Than Pride. Those would be my Chicago anthems.
I was thinking about this today and I was a little stuck. And then there's a song that I've listened to for years, you know, here in Chicago and actually in Ethiopia where I've worked and all different places. And it's Stand by Sly and the Family Stone.
Okay.
And I listened to it again today and I looked at the words again and I was like, hi, yeah.
That works.
It works. And I think it will continue to work.
Somebody put in the chat, I will survive.
That's a good one.
And then they also put, to Jennifer's point about summer, the first days of summer, everybody loves the sunshine. That's a Chicago.
That's a good one, too. Well, I'm like you, Tanika. I couldn't narrow it down to one. I had two that stuck in my mind. And I have to say, one of my favorite things every year is the Chicago Blues Fest.
Oh, yeah.
And so one song is a blues song, and that's Sweet Home Chicago. I like the Robert Johnson version, even though Honey Boy Edwards wrote it, or they think he wrote it. And the other one is by the Staples Family singers. I'll Take You There. I love that song. And I love it for many reasons, but one awesome thing is anytime you see that performed in this town, the entire audience sings that song.
Oh, that is true.
I love
That's
that.
a good one. That's a real good one. Yeah, so I hope they do make a playlist from all of this answers to this question, because I think they've asked this in the other conversations. So that's going to be a nice playlist.
Yeah, that'll be great.
So.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we'll have to have it at Tish's garden.
Oh, yeah. Have to have a band play.
Yeah.
All of those songs. That would be so cool.
Absolutely.
So just to wrap up, is there anything that you all would like to add in closing? Anything sitting on your hearts that you want to tell, you know, our little audience that's been with us the whole hour?
Thanks for your patience.
I would say thanks for spending the time with us. And,
yes, thank you for inviting us. Yes.
Yeah.
And for everybody joining. And I just feel that we've known each other for a while now, all of us on the panel, you know, but every single conversation like this is it feels good. It's not always easy, you know, to have these conversations. So I just welcome everybody on this call to think about maybe taking that risk, taking in action, having that conversation. It's good.
It is
and we
good.
need it. And so I hope you will too.
Oh, and I would like to just go ahead and offer people a couple of things, a few things they could do. They could get in touch with you all to learn more about Inglewood Renaissance. They can definitely attend a Resident Association of Greater Inglewood Village meeting. They do it virtual. They have one coming up on the 19th where they're going to be talking about taxes, how people are getting taken advantage of, and some of the programs that the city has where people can learn about if their taxes have been bought. So you can follow up a RAGE, and then you can hit up Folded Maps website and download an action kit. You know, it's a pandemic safe way to experience your map twin neighborhood and kind of learn about the disparities that exist in our city and in our country, and then share back your experience. So I would like to offer that as some actions that people can do that doesn't seem like hopeless. I don't know if we're going to wait for Jameer to jump back on. Okay.
I think we're...
Thank you. This was a beautiful conversation. You all, I hope you will join us next week as we have part 3 of the Candid Conversations with the faith leaders.
Right on.
Thank you all.
Thank you.